Hey, how's it going everyone? Welcome back to Keeping Fish Simple. So in today's video, I'm going to be giving you guys the 10 things that you should know about guppies. And this is going to be pretty much a video on some general guppy care, and I'm going to give you guys 10 things that are really important for taking care of guppies in an aquarium. So I've made a lot of videos on this channel about guppies in the past, and I've made a lot of videos on guppy tips and care advice and all that kind of stuff. So today's video is going to be pretty much a conglomerate of everything that I've learned over the past 6 years of keeping guppies. So make sure you stay around to the end of the video for the algorithm, and also consider liking this video, and also stay around to the end so that you get the 10 tips. But without any further ado, let's get started. Okay, so the first thing you guys should know is that guppies do need a varied diet. So often what I see, and what I've seen over the past 6 years of people keeping guppies, is when they first get sold a tank, normally what's going to happen is you're going to be sold like a little tub of fish flakes. So you're going to be sold something like this. So these are just some general tropical flakes, and basically what you're going to be told is that this will be more than enough to keep your guppies full and to give them a varied diet and to keep them healthy. So basically people go to a pet store and they're sold something like the flakes I just showed you, and they're told that they just need to feed their guppies this once a day, and that's going to be perfectly fine for their guppies. Now on one hand I do agree with this, but on the other hand it kind of doesn't make a lot of sense to me, because basically what these foods try to do is they try to achieve a balanced diet inside of them by offering like a bunch of different ingredients that pretty much balance out the guppy's diet, and they do a really good job at doing this, but they don't quite do the job in my opinion. So I like to feed a varied diet. Now don't click away yet, because this is definitely not something tricky to do at all. If you guys want to learn some more information, you guys can watch my video on what to feed guppy fish. This will completely cover everything you need to know on what to feed guppy fish, but it's really easy to feed a varied diet, and you're going to see tremendous results the second you start doing this. So you can feed a bunch of different things. You can feed live foods, you can feed frozen foods, and you can feed a bunch of different dry goods even, just to get that bit of variation in their diet. Because basically guppies, like all animals, need a bunch of different things in their diet to give them the best health and the best color and all that kind of stuff. So that's gonna be my first thing that you should know, is they definitely do need a varied diet. I've seen other videos on YouTube saying that they'll be just fine on some tropical flakes, and I just don't agree with that. Now the second thing that you should know, and this is kind of already getting into some really deep and gritty information, and this is that guppies used to be a very hardy fish. They used to be something that was super easy to take care of, and they still are. Don't get me wrong, they are a very hardy fish. They're super easy to take care of, but in my opinion, and generally in a lot of other experienced aquarium keepers' opinions, that over time they've become a lot less hardy and they can have a lot more problems. So they've got a lot of inbreeding ramifications. Now I hope I didn't say that too quick, because I often on this channel say things really quick, and that's just how I talk. So basically what happens is, because guppies are such a domesticated fish, and it's going to be such a challenge to find some really wild guppies in the aquarium hobby as of today. They've been inbred for years and years, and the strains and the lines have become really weak. So I'm not going to go too in depth on this. Obviously guppies just aren't like what they used to be, and they can just have a lot of inbreeding ramifications. So things like bent spines, and they can also have decreased immunity. So they're going to be like a little bit more prone to some diseases, especially if you don't keep them in really good water conditions. So my only piece of advice for this is to get your guppies from a really reliable breeder, somebody that's mixed a bunch of bloodlines together and created a guppy that's going to have pretty much some balanced genes, instead of just being bred with like a mother and a sister and all that kind of behavior. You don't want that, and you're going to have a lot more success with future generations of guppies in your aquariums. So the third thing you should know about guppy fish care and about guppies in general is the tank mates that you can keep them with. So because guppies are a very good community fish, and if you guys are obviously new to the aquarium hobby, basically a community tank is just a fish tank full of different species, and we call those fish in the community tank community fish. Basically they're an awesome community fish because they aren't aggressive at all. They're not fin nippers or anything like that. Basically it's not a question of, can I keep my guppy with so and so? It's more about, will this so-and-so fish attack my guppy? So it's about whether adding another fish to your aquarium is going to attack guppies. So you guys can also watch a video on the best guppy tank mates. That'll pretty much cover everything you want to know on this topic, but basically I'd stay away from really aggressive fish like barbs and cichlids and all that kind of stuff. You want to stick to your more commonly known peaceful community fish that are very similar to the guppies, like your platies, swordtails, mollies and things like that, even tetras and cherry shrimp, and even bristlenose pleco is going to be really good for your fish tank if you want to keep them with your guppies. But because guppies have so much color and there's so many different types, obviously you can just keep a tank full of guppies and you're just going to have the exact same kind of display that you're looking for in a community tank. So it's completely up to you. So the next thing I'm going to mention about guppies is the common diseases. So guppies, like all fish and all other animals, are prone to some diseases and illnesses in your aquarium, and I'm pretty much going to give you a couple of things that I definitely would recommend to do with your guppies to prevent disease. And obviously the first thing is going to be quarantining. So quarantining your fish is really, really important. So if you've got some other fish tanks that you guys have, maybe you've only got one fish tank, but if you've got multiple, the second you bring in new guppies, it's definitely important to leave them in a separate tank and don't mix your tank water together and all that kind of stuff, because guppies can bring in illnesses from the farms that they're kept in and other people's tanks, and you just don't really know what other people have in their water. So it's important not to mix your tank water with the local fish store's water or your pet store's water, because you don't know what these guppies could be carrying. So it's important just to leave them in a quarantine tank for about a month or so and make sure that they don't develop any sicknesses and stuff like that. A lot of the time, really common issues are skinny guppies and guppies with dropsy and stuff like that. So if you guys, again, want to learn a bit more information on this, I've got a video up here, 4 reasons why guppies die, and this will pretty much cover all the reasons why I found guppies to die in my aquariums, and this will try and make it as easy as possible for you guys to understand. But guppies bringing in illnesses like parasitic worms and things like that is so common. So I definitely recommend that when you get your first set of guppies, or if you get some guppies, to medicate your tank with some deworming tablets. Now this might seem a bit over the top, but it's really going to save you a lot of time. Really, it's just worth that extra 30 bucks on the medication just to make sure that they don't bring any worms into your aquarium, because a lot of the time people will skimp out on this and they'll just go, well, it doesn't really matter because they're such a cheap fish. Yes, that's true, they are very cheap, and I don't ever take like a fish's life as something to be less than mine, but it's like gonna save you so much time in the future if you don't bring in parasites straight away. So you want to medicate them twice and make sure that they don't bring any worms or any of that kind of stuff in. And I'm just telling you now, this is going to be an absolute godsend from me, because it's going to be so helpful for you. And so the next thing you guys should know about guppies is their breeding. So guppies breeding is definitely not something to take lightly. Guppies breed like crazy. So guppies are a live bearing fish. That means they give birth to live young. So they'll give birth to live young every 22 to 25 days. And they give birth to about 30 to 50 fry at a time. So sometimes it can be less, sometimes it can be more. It really depends. Like, these guys are gonna just pump out fries. So basically what's gonna happen is if you guys keep them in a really, really small aquarium and you have males and females, they're gonna overpopulate that tank within a couple of months, and you're just gonna have a massive problem on your hands. And if you guys are looking to breed these guys, I definitely recommend keeping 1 male per 2 females. And basically what that's gonna do is that's gonna mean that because the males are always gonna try and breed with your females, the females are obviously gonna get a little bit stressed and they're gonna be like overwhelmed if there's just 1 male on 1 female. So having 2 females means that in the meantime, while 1 female is getting targeted, the other female can have a break, and vice versa. These guys breed like nuts. It's not something to be taken lightly. These guys are going to breed all the time, and it's definitely something to be prepared for. So if you guys want to have like a tank full of guppies, you don't need to get many to start off with. Just adding like 2 or 3 trios to an aquarium is going to mean that this aquarium is going to get overpopulated in like 6 months, and you're just going to have so much color and so much variety in the aquarium. It's crazy. So that's just definitely something that I thought I'd mention, because they breed like nuts. And then the 6th thing you should know about guppies is the tank requirements. So guppies are tropical fish. They will need a heater in the aquarium, and they like the temperature to be from about 72 degrees Fahrenheit to 84 degrees Fahrenheit. They really like that water to be warm. They don't like cold conditions. So that, for you guys who are Aussies like me, that's about 22 to 28 degrees Celsius, and that's going to be a really good range for them. So keeping them in an aquarium with a heater and a filter, like something like a sponge filter, is going to be really, really good. And keeping them in an aquarium over 10 gallons. Now, if you want to keep them in an aquarium under 10 gallons, I definitely recommend to keep all males. The males are going to have all the color, and the females are normally a little bit more draft, and they're not going to have as much nice colors. So having an only male tank is going to mean you get the color, but you're not going to get the breeding, so you're not going to have overpopulation, and that's going to be really, really helpful for you. So because these guys have been kept in aquariums for so long, the tank doesn't need to be set to what they had in the wild. So the pH and the GH and stuff like that doesn't really matter at all. Completely disregard that stuff if you're a beginner, because those words don't matter. You're just going to want to keep the ammonia in the tank low, and they're going to be absolutely fine for you. And then my 7th thing that you guys should know about keeping guppies in an aquarium is that you should keep some live plants in the aquarium. So live plants are going to be super beneficial for your aquariums for a few reasons. So live plants really, really help out your aquarium to become like more natural. It's going to really help the aquarium to mimic nature, and it's going to give the guppies exactly what they need to create that cycle in the aquarium. So I'm talking about the nitrate cycle. So basically what's going to happen in your guppy aquarium is when the guppies produce waste, the waste is going to fall to the bottom of the aquarium. It's going to turn into something called ammonia, which will be then turned into nitrites and nitrates. Basically, that doesn't matter. What plants are going to do is they're going to help that cycle, and they're going to absorb a lot of those bad things that we don't want in the aquarium that are super toxic to our guppies, and they're going to make sure that the water is clean. So some plants that I'd recommend is water wisteria, Java moss, guppy grass, water sprite. There's a whole bunch of really, really easy plants that you guys just float in your guppy aquarium, and they're gonna act as like natural filters for your guppy tank, and they're definitely something that I wouldn't take lightly. I pretty much add plants to any aquarium with guppies in it because the guppies can create a lot of waste, especially once they start breeding. So, and then my 8th thing you guys should know about keeping guppies in an aquarium is the filtration. So I'm gonna pretty much mention that you guys can keep any filtration with these guys. It really doesn't matter, but the thing that's gonna matter, especially in your aquarium, is the intakes. So I definitely recommend keeping sponge filters in your aquariums because they just have a lot of benefits to them. And if you guys wanna know why I keep sponge filters, I've made a video up here that you guys can go and watch on that as well. And that's pretty much gonna cover everything you need to know on like why I keep them. And a lot of other people keep them for the same reasons as me. It's not just me. Sponge filters have really low intake, so they can't suck fish up into them. And you don't really have to worry about fry getting hurt and stuff like that because they don't have enough pressure to bring all of the guppies into them and suck them up and stuff like that. But things like canister filters and hang on back filters and inbuilt filters in your aquariums are gonna have like a big intake kind of thing that's gonna stick into the aquarium. And normally these holes in this are still big enough to suck babies up. So a lot of people will be keeping guppies in their aquariums and they'll be like, well, why aren't my guppies breeding? And I say, well, what kind of filtration do you have? And they say, well, I've just got like this intake filter. And what's happening is the intake is just sucking up all the fry and obviously killing them straight away. So if you guys do have one of these filters, do not worry. You can get lots of sponge covers and things like that, which will stop things being able to get sucked up into it like your fry and stuff like that, but still filter the aquarium, and that'll be just fine. But obviously I recommend keeping sponge filters and things like that because I've had so much success keeping them, and you're not gonna have any issues and things like that we don't want in the aquarium. And then my 9th thing that you guys should know about keeping guppies and things that you should know about guppies is their lifespan. So this is going to be a really quick point here, but guppies live for about 1 to 3 years, so they don't have a crazy long lifespan. They live very, very quickly. If you have the temperature of the aquarium up a little bit higher, like in the warmer range, they're going to live for not as long as they would if the water was cold. So basically that's going to boost their metabolism, and then they're not going to live for as long. So people sometimes will just have guppies die off for no reason, and it's completely normal to lose some guppies to old age because they only live for about a year. So if you're losing like one guppy just randomly, the chances are it just died from old age. But if you're losing like a bunch of guppies, then you might want to watch the video on the guppy illnesses because that could be a serious problem. But it's completely normal to lose a guppy every now and then just from old age. And a lot of the time you'll see that especially male guppies will start to swim a lot slower when they get older. Past that like 2-year mark, their fins will drop a bit and they won't swim as horizontal as they used to, and they won't be as active. But that's really, really common with a lot of other old fish like old bedders and things like that. So I just thought I'd mention that they don't live for a crazy amount of time, so don't be surprised if you lose a few to old age after a year or so. And then my 10th thing you guys should know about guppies, this is going to be like the best thing on this whole entire list and in this video, so please smash the like button because this is just something that I wish I did when I first got guppies, and it's to inspect them like crazy. Inspect your guppies, make sure they aren't skinny, make sure they aren't bloated, and make sure that you're not bringing in anything with any physical illnesses or like fin rot and things like that. It's going to save you a lot of time and a lot of stress and a lot of headaches. Inspect your guppies, make sure you buy guppies that look a little bit plump and they're eating really, really well. So what I'd recommend to do is to ask your fish store to give them a quick feed and then pick out the guppies that are eating the most food and the most active and stuff like that. Don't bring home any guppies that look sick or lethargic and things like that because they could be sick and it's just like not worth it. So I used to actually, because I like really cared about the fish, I used to like pick sick guppies because I'd like take care of them, whatever. And look, it always just like didn't end well, and it's just something that I definitely not recommend doing is buying sick guppies. So be sure to inspect them like crazy, buy the healthiest, best looking that you can find, and you'll have a lot of fun keeping them and breeding them in your aquarium. So that was pretty much the list of things that were going to be covered on this video. I hope you guys did enjoy this video. I hope you guys learned something today, and hope you guys have a lot of success keeping your guppies in the future. So thank you so much for watching this video, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.